swooning princess on the cafeteria floor, sunken down behind the folded tables. I'm your fairy tale maiden, your weak female role. I'm the girl who faints. Like a love interest in a Victorian novel, I went out of style in the 50s. Keep me away from your daughters. I'm not a good role model. My mom still says sometimes she passes out at the sight of blood, which is not true, but it's the easiest way to tell people that I am weak. But God damn it, I don't want to be a cliche. The last time I woke up, I was crumpled sideways, seatbelt into a parked car with my little brother staring at me, and I just kept on muttering, I'm sorry.
Al is next, and Ben Clement is on deck.
You bet I am. Sorry. Really?
Okay. This will probably be a cold read, because of course you told me I should read it. So I'm just gonna get into this. It's supposed to be like a short story, but it turned into something not that, so we'll see how this goes. Okay. My father told me that the only way to win people in this world was to grow a beard. He said, son, brittle pad is the word. Make it rough. Make it leave a little something behind when you rub up against them. If you don't start planting seeds now, how are you ever going to leave your mark? I said, Dad, is that what you did? And he said, hell yes, son. Now get to work. And this next part is like somebody really drunk in the bar, so. There's no grammar in this at all, so I'm really sorry if it comes out horrible.
Right?
Really, like, no periods. Okay. Yes, son, too much mixing and matching and swirling and dancing, and nobody knows nowadays who they are. I'm a quarter Hindi with a splash of Dutch, served over some pie-sash Japanese. Jesus Christ, they sound like they can be ordered off a cocktail menu. And who's bartending tonight? The goddamn government, Billy. The goddamn police. So funny. He pointed toward the back. It's kind of like what's in this glass. Look, son, are you looking? Right here. See how this liquid? Imagine this liquid is a bunch of people. All these people are contained within borders that keep them safe until something else fucks them. When they try to escape, he poured a little bit on the ground. What happens next? The liquid began to soak into the carpet. It's noticeable for a few days, and then what? What's going to happen to them? It's going to dry up. Exactly, it's going to dry up, and what good was escaping the glass then? Was there any? No, that's what I thought. But then you ask, what happens to the rest of the people left in the glass after he poured it? He stuck a finger and he swirled it around. Safe, right? No. He tried what was left. Son, we're all going to get fucked one day. Asians, blacks, Spics, Indonesians, whatever. It just depends on what time it is.
Yeah, I dig it.
Okay. And it continues on. I nod. He burps. He stands up. He falls down. His heart stops. The bar patrons turn. Somebody's probably calling 911. I walk away from the body on the ground and the bodies that are moving to do something about it. I'm leaving this and I'm walking down the street. I open the doors to another bar. It's the same deal. It's a different language and there is different facial hair, but it's the same message and it's the same past and ultimately the same conclusion. I spill some more men out of glasses. It's strange being an angel of death and everyone you work with is inherently the same. It also sucks when you're on bar duty.
Oh, okay, so I have mine on my phone. You guys are gonna have to.
Ben is now, and then Shannon.
Does anyone back there want to read?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I have them on the list.
Ready.
Shannon is next. Shannon is next. Got it?
Hello, everyone. So the first one that I'm reading is actually a really short monologue. So it's not very long.
Really short this time, Ben?
Yeah, I promise. This one's really short. Okay. I never had a strong male figure in my life, but Eve was weak too, so I can't really blame him. I can still remember the day he told us, and I quote, I was touched by the hand of God, but now I realize he was strangled by it. He wants me to become part of his family and leave my laundry list of sins behind, but he doesn't respect mine, thus continuing the cycle of late birthday cards and nepotism. But it's not nepotism, sir, because although blood is thicker than water, it is a river that runs between us. It's really hard to practice what you preach when you yourself don't even know what you're saying. You seem to be drowning in verse. And as much as you want me to, I can't swim, and clearly that runs in the family because neither can you. I find it strange that the only thing that can keep you afloat is your father. And I'm not talking about the money this time. Blind faith should only be reserved for the rats.
Shannon's up, and then Angela.
Yes, Shannon? Shannon, what friends here?
No, I didn't bring it. I didn't bring it. Paul wanted to do things like Michael Jackson.
I know. It's disgusting.
Hey, guys.
Hey, shut the fuck up.
But I can hold it for you.
Don't do that either.
Okay, I won't.
Hello?
Perito, vete de aquí.
Guys, please.
There are still days when there is no way. Oh, and this isn't my poem. This is Andrea Gibson's poem, Blue Blanket. Okay. There are still days when there is no way, not even a chance, that I dare for even a second glance at the reflection of my body in the mirror, and she knows why. Like I know why she only cries when she feels like she's about to lose control. She knows how much control is worth, knows what a woman can lose when her power to move is taken away by a grip so thick with hate it could clip the wings of God. Leave the next 8 generations of your blood shaking, and tonight something inside me is breaking. My heart beating so deep beneath the sheets of her pain, I could give every tear she's crying a year, a name, and a face I'd forever erase from her mind if I could. But how much closer to free would any of us be if even a few of us forgot what too many women in this world cannot? And I'm thinking, what the hell would you tell your daughter, your someday daughter, when you'd have to hold her beautiful face to the beat-up face of this place that hasn't learned the meaning of stop? What would you tell your daughter of the womb raped empty, of eyes swollen shut, the gut too frightened to hold food, the thousands upon thousands of bodies used and abused? It was 7 minutes of the worst kind of hell. 7. And she stopped believing in heaven. Distrust became her law. Fear her Bible. The only chance of survival. Don't trust any of them. Bolt the doors to your home. Iron gate the windows. Walk to your car alone. Get the key in the lock. Please, please, please open. Like already you can feel the 5-fingered noose around your neck. 200 pounds of hatred digging graves into the sacred soil of your flesh. Please, 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 please open. Already you're choking for breath, listening to the broken record of the defense. Answer the question, answer the question, answer the question, miss. Why am I on trial for this? Would you talk to your daughter like this? Your sister, your mother like this? Am I generations of daughters, sisters, mothers? Our bodies battlefields, war grounds beneath the weapons of your brother's hands. Do you know they've found landmines in broken women's souls? Black holes in the parts of their hearts that once sang symphonies of creation, bright as the light on infinity's halo? She says, I remember the way love used to glow on my skin before he made his way in. Now every touch feels like a sin that could crucify Medusa, Kali, Ocean, Mary. Bury me in a blue blanket so their God doesn't know I'm a girl. Cut off my curls, I want peace when I'm dead. Her friend knocks at the door. It's been 3 weeks. Don't you think it's time you got out of bed? No. The ceiling fan still feels like his breath. I think I just need a couple more days of rest. Please. Bruises on her knees from praying to forget. She's heard stories of Vietnam vets who can still feel the tingling of their amputated limbs. She's wondering how many women are walking around this world feeling the tingling of their amputated wings, remembering what it was like to fly, to sing. Tonight she's not wondering what she would tell her daughter. She knows what she would tell her daughter. She'd ask her, what gods do you believe in? I'll build you a temple of mirrors so you can see them. Pick the brightest star you've ever wished on. I'll show you the light in you that made that wish come true. Tonight she's not asking you what you would tell your daughter. She's life deep in the hell, the slaughter. Has already died 1,000 deaths with every unsteady breath, 1,000 graves in every pore of her flesh. And she knows the war's not over, knows there's bleeding to come, knows she's far from the only woman or girl, trusting this world no more than the lands, than the hands trusted, rusted barbed wire. She was whole before that night, believed in heaven before that night, and she's not the only one. She knows she won't be the only one. She's not asking what you're going to tell your daughter. She's asking what you're going to teach your son. Deanna is on deck and Angela is coming up now.
Yay! No, that's not no.
Angela, do you mind if I film you?
I do. No. Shannon, no, but yeah, Shannon. Okay, so now I feel like really bad because this is like the most innocent piece ever. So. Okay.
Guys.
Oh, it's just your brother being loud as shit.
Skyline. A couple sat in the field off the freeway, young, blushing, smitten, waiting in their precious sliver of happy oblivion for the stars to uncloak themselves. And so they sat on the hood of his ancient, well-loved piece-of-shit car, her temple on his shoulder, his cheek on her hair, leaning back on their palms, arms crossing their sides just touching, and they looked up. But in examining the darkening sky, they blinked in dismay because they could not tell which of the few far-off lights were stars and which were lake-flying planes. So they decided to revel in the sweet, muddy, murky blackness and enjoyed imagining that they could swim through the vast chasm of weightless, oppressive night. But the sky was tinged with rose and purple from the restless, too-near city they had just escaped, and so the chasm lost its purity, and imagining was poison. So they turned to the moon in its ethereal glory, reflecting someone else's daylight, and discovered that the moon was still fresh and shy, too young and inexperienced, too like them to give guidance. It knew that it could offer no sound counsel, and so, embarrassed, it hid its face and refused to peek at the land below. It would take days of quick glances and covert observation to realize that its shame was unfounded, and days more to realize that staring was not a sin, before self-consciousness and sad guilt set in, and it turned and hid and cried and died once more. So they held each other and slept in the back seat with every intention of dreaming, but it was to no avail, for instead of a proud and subtle confusion of memories, they received peace, unbidden. They woke up contented and forgot.
Deanna is up, and then Dylan, are you reading? If you are, then you know. What?
So good.
Okay. You don't have to. Yeah.
Yo, you should. Dylan, you should read it.
I was planning on reading Dylan, if you don't want to go this round, you don't have to, but if you want to go later. So after Dylan is Angus.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Are we playing it? Are we playing it?
Deanna, do you mind if I film?
Why?
I will.
Okay, no, I don't mind. Why? Was this something?
No, I just people that.
Standing to the camera, so.
No, I don't mind. Okay.
Swaggy.
I wasn't. Do I need this? No. Okay, I wasn't gonna read today, but I decided to because there's bums over there. All right. I just wrote this like yesterday, and it's supposed to be a sequel to something that I didn't write yet. All right. To my latest mistake, you stitched up my cuts, but you've caused all my ache, my greatest of breaks. You caused me to wish that I'd never wake from the sweetest of dreams. Everything's fine. You've stitched every seam tightly, but God, I'm only just stuck. Another few hours for drips in my cup. Drip, drop, right to the top. It'll spill over if it doesn't stop. Honestly, I'd rather shatter the glass.
Who's next?
Yeah, the shit's broken.
Are you not ready?
I'm gonna jerk that.
Oh, we're next?
Huh? What are you guys doing?
You're next.
Oh, my cookies.
Then round two.
Josh! Josh! Oh, Josh, you're all just here.
Evan's here.
Hey. He's been here.
That's hot.
Well, I don't know. Don't watch out for the
Yeah,
camera.
it's both hot and dusty. For 20 blazing faggots.
I uploaded the video from last night.
Oh, for real?
I have every set except for Gather.
What's that?
I have every set except for Gather.
Sweet.
On my YouTube, so you can watch it.
Are we up back? Are you singing? No? Oh, really? Well, it needs participation. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Oh, God,
Am I?
no.
Is this filmable?
No. Well, no. Yeah, what else? Film everyone. Yeah. Just don't film me, just film him. Just him.
It's all good.
I'm looking in the corner right now. Sorry. It's not. I'm not the main thing right here. You'll know what's coming. You guys will never see it coming.
Hey.
Alright, sorry. Tom, that was good, right? Sorry. What are you talking about? I'm not gonna hit you. You didn't do that?
But I'm kind of
Is Tony here?
He's gonna be here in like 15 minutes.
Of course he is.
So you should just wait till he gets here.
He's gonna.
You can have next round. Like you can. It's a round.
Yeah, we should
so
go.
Oh,
you have to
is
do
it like the tournament?
No, so
No, we have to wait for Tony.
Alright, that's fine.
Because
Yeah, wait.
So I'll just wait up here.
Yeah, I'm gonna show
Logan's next.
because I know your stuff's really
Oh,
good.
my cookies.
So,
How did you think this is your cookies? But I have like 2 cookies. Alright guys, it's the second round, so like, I'm up again. Sorry. And then Clarissa is on deck, so.
No.
Alright, this is really angry.
It's Aggie?
is it about John?
No, it's not. This is a relatively like new piece, so. It was the year I took an X-Acto knife to a Barbie because she needed to be skinnier, because I needed to be skinnier, and I found a better pain than trying to scrub away the boy from youth group. Life is a gift that you tried to return that year, and it was this year that I finally realized it wasn't my fault, that you were fucked up way before I came along. And those 6 months after the hospital, I wasn't there because I loved you, and I'm sorry, I am so sorry. I was there because I was scared, and I know my sorries will never heal you. You will never be brand new, never pre-Allison anymore. I'm just hoping they fade your scars a little faster.
Try to follow that.
I know.
So,
So, Clarissa's up, and then Maligan.
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 Who's Maligan?
I don't know.
I'll wait, give it the beat. I'll just go get it. Tommy in the bottle opener? Yes. Or is it upstairs? Oh, my soda.
Hey, I apologize for my poem not being as cool as ours. This one's entitled Coping. She knows all the silly stories about the madhouses with their door alarms and plastic spoons, the tinny laughs in sterile rooms, metal through the telephone speakers. Where have you been all summer? Roswell? But the real joke is that we're pretending it's funny, when all I want is a straight answer. And all she wants, I don't know what she wants. She says, I read all your letters multiple times, like she keeps them locked up in a drawer somewhere, tied with ribbons, but really there was nothing in them to make them worth reading. I remember attempting humor. You know, it's not lying exactly. We're only leaving out the details.
Oh.
After
Open bottles in the ice.
Oh, great.
Best fucking song.
There's something about zombies for this?
No, I didn't bring anything about zombies this time.
No zombies.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
People want zombies?
No.
Next time I can for zombies.
That's it. I
I
shot
have
my
a huge
wife of
anthology of
20, I
zombies.
shot my wife of 20 years. That's it.
That was. And I
With a
didn't-
double barrel shotgun.
Wait, Tom, when's the next show? Is it May 4th?
Okay.
This mic is on. Okay. This is about. I'll tell you what it's about.
Is that the
Chloe
phone?
Reed, if you guys know her. She graduated a couple years ago, but she was like snaps for her. She was the
Who is
coolest fucking person. Chloe Reed.
Oh,
Chelsea Reed's like younger sister.
Yeah.
She's fucking cool. She was cool. I just want you guys to know that. All right.
How cool was she?
ice cold.
Like
Like passing.
I don't even know. Alright.
I love that test.
I write to you because you've been away for almost a year. I write because you sounded like popping guitar strings. I write this because it's 9:48 and I'm bored. You had a story for every line of dirt tucked away under your fingernails. I thought the freckles on your face were mud spots, neglected for the centuries you spent finding ways to be unusual. Because of you, I automatically assume eclectic people are dirty. I know that doesn't make any sense, but for every time you publicly uttered something ridiculous, like, I want to try peyote, I swear your VO grew a little bit stronger. And I never thought I'd miss that. Sometimes it smelled like the cigars you smoked in your car, or like popcorn, or like wet dog, because you're the one who really let PETA save you. Remember that night when we made popcorn, and the kernels spilled everywhere, and the more you laughed, the more kernels appeared, almost like they were spilling out of your mouth like something out of a horror show? And I cleaned, fearing that those tiny gold orbs would explode as soon as they hit the ground. While I swept away the evidence of a disaster, you slept, and you made a snow angel, and you said, this feels better than my bed. And you let it carry you to places that my mother will still never let me go. You pointed to a tiny black outline of a circle on your calf. You said, I am an unpopped, unphotoshoppable kernel that will one day ruin this world. I said, shut the fuck up, my mother's trying to sleep.
Yeah.
When I first saw you, I thought you smelled like VO and Celtic music. You spoke in a way that made it seem like you'd been here since the hobo who last wore your thrift store jacket was born. Like secondhand reincarnation. You were threatening and larger than anything I'd ever seen. It was a language none of my friends understood, but I told them anyway. I said, guys, there's this girl that I know, and she tattooed themselves. And Ori's like, what? And I always say, yeah, she tattooed herself, and it's of a tiny little circle. And they always walk away after that because they're not impressed. But it's harder for them to understand when all they know is angles. And I didn't get that at first either, but now I think that I do. And I'm sorry that I came too late. I wrote to you because you took away a sense of fluidity that I didn't even know I had. I write because I've been doodling circles on myself in pencil. And I write this because it's senior year, and I'm tired of being boring.
After band, I need another pumpkin. Is Angela
Do you mind if I like try to bring something up online?
now?
No, I can't.
No.
She asks now.
It'll take 1 second.
One. You're done.
This is actually a poem that I did not write. It is my favorite of poems. I'll be back to. It'll be back to original stuff next time. Okay.
Hey, Matt Hogan.
How you doing, man? Okay. So this is a rhymey poem, but it's really good and it's written by Tim Burton. So you know what to expect. Okay. He proposed in the dunes. They were wed by the sea. Their 9-day-long honeymoon was on the Isle of Capri. For their supper they had one spectacular dish, a simmering stew of mollusks and fish. And while he savored the dish, her bride's heart made a wish. That wish came true. They gave birth to a baby, but was this little one human? Well, maybe. 10 fingers, 10 toes, he had plumbing and sight. He could hear, he could feel, but normal. Not quite. This unnatural birth, this canker, this blight, was the start and the end and the sum of their plight. She railed to the doctor. "He cannot be mine. He smells of the ocean, of seaweed and brine. You should count yourself lucky, for only last week I treated a girl with 3 ears and a beak. That your son is half oyster. You cannot blame me. Have you ever considered perhaps a small home by the sea?" Not knowing what to call him, they called him just Sam, or sometimes that thing that looks kind of like a clam. Everyone wondered, but no one could tell. When would young Oyster Boy come out of his shell? When the Thompson quadruplets espied him one day, they called him a bivalve and ran quickly away. One spring afternoon, Sam was left in the rain at the southwestern corner of Seaview and Maine. He watched the rainwater as it swirled down the drain. His mom in the freeway in the breakdown lane was pounding the dashboard. She couldn't contain the ever-rising grief, frustration, and pain. "Really, sweetheart," she said, "I don't mean to make fun, but something smells fishy, and I think it's our son. I don't like to say this, but it must be said. You're blaming our son for your problems in bed." He tried salves. He tried ointments that turned everything red. He tried potions and lotions with a tincture of lead. He ached and he itched and he twitched and he bled. The doctor said, "I cannot be quite sure, but the cause of the problem might also be the cure. They say oysters improve your sexual powers. Perhaps eating your son could help you do it for hours." He came on the tiptoe. He came in on the sly. Sweat on his forehead, on his lips a lie. "Son, are you happy? I don't mean to pry, but do you dream of heaven? Have you ever wanted to die?" Sam blinked his eye twice and made no reply. Dad fingered his knife and loosened his tie. He picked up his son. As he picked up his son, Sam dripped on his coat. With the shell to his lips, Sam slipped down his throat. They buried him quickly in the sand by the sea, sighed a prayer, wept a tear, and they were back home by 3. A cross of gray driftwood marked Oyster Boy's grave. Words written in the sand promised Jesus would save, but his memory was lost with one high tide wave.
I like that.
Angela's next, and then Deanna. Do you have poetry? Okay. And Evan and I get to
We're gonna go when Tony gets here.
Right.
Allison, I'll go when they're supposed to go.
You'll go in, Antonio?
No, when they're supposed to go this time, I'll take their spot.
Okay, that's fine. All right, then you're up next.
What? After Angela?
Oh. Well, I don't know. Like, no, it's fine. Okay.
Okay, so Angela and I thought that it would be fun to write a poem together. It's
A poetic dialogue.
I told Ben it was a poetic dialogue and he made fun of me, so it is a lie. I'm not sure what to call it.
I'm gonna just drop pages on the floor as we go along. So just
Yeah. Wait.
because there's a lot.
There are 2 pages.
Are you there for?
No, there aren't. There are 2. You double spaced it.
I know.
Okay, so this is entitled Disclaimer. I know very little about spoken word poetry.
I know next to nothing about spoken word poetry.
I watched a couple videos on YouTube.
I heard Ms. Hudak make fun of it last year.
I know that it involves speaking in a loud, dramatic voice.
And I know that it requires lots of pauses and repetition.
And repetition.
And repetition in metaphors.
I was a 3-day-old egg salad sandwich lying in a New York City alleyway reading plans.
And I was a pair of size 11 slippers, blue with penguins on them.
Let's talk about friendship. I think there are clues that we look for, ways that the universe signals that somebody will make good friends.
She exuded a natural insanity.
And she liked Sherlock.
And she was a ginger.
Woo! And she made a bad first impression of my mom.
And she brings up this story every time.
Because I don't think any of my close friends made a good first impression on my mom.
Well, at least I did something right.
Now, there are certain rules of etiquette that I like to follow.
Ha!
And one of them is introducing my parents to my friends.
She said, "Hey, this is my mom."
And then she sort of went crazy.
I tried to hug her.
It was well-intentioned physical assault.
It was a hug, a simple gesture of affection and appreciation.
Mom decided then and there that she was really more of a handshake person.
Which was a bit disappointing.
It was really the only appropriate reaction under the circumstances.
But now we've forgotten.
To speak in loud voices.
With pauses and repetition and metaphors.
I was a fruit bat, chasing Santa's reindeer across the night sky.
And I was a swallow flying home, weighed down by the coconut I carried.
So anyway, whatever it was,
it started a beautiful thing.
Because there are no limits when your friend is already plotting out the best way to take over the world.
And to think it all started with a hug.
Because I was a clover blossom, crushed under my mother's foot as she shied away from Angela's embrace.
And I was the bird feeder that swung on its wire when she backed into my branch.
Because friendship is a metaphor that you don't understand.
Friendship is a joke that no one completely gets.
Friendship communicates in loud voices and meaningful pauses.
It's an outlet to speak your mind and share your secrets.
It pushes itself forward with repetition and words spoken in unison. Friendship is spoken word
poetry.
And I know very little about spoken word poetry.
And I know next to nothing about spoken word poetry. But here we are.
That was so good.
Oh my god.
That was really, yeah.
Deanna's gonna be, and then Logan.
Yeah, then Logan, that's good.
Where is Tony?
He's coming.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That was really like,
Oh my gosh.
I swallowed way down by coconut.
Alright, this is called Strawberry Milk, and I wrote this like, I don't know, over the summer.
My name is me.
Like for Tom to sit down.
Fuck down, Tom.
Alright. Strawberry milk, it's been a while since your taste met my lips and you gave me a smile. Smirk for the sweetest, the cleanest, most pink. Deliciousness ever that I call a drink. Gosh, it's been forever since I poured out a glass. Regular milk and I'd mix it up fast. Something new to myself, I thought. This feel in my mouth, I almost forgot. It's really not new, it's only a burst. A reminder of something that I've tasted first. But there's still that difference, they're refreshing in taste. It pulls out the smile from my heart to my face. Strawberry milk, it's been a while since your taste met my lips and gave me a smile.
Logan, and then Matt is on deck, man. So.
Matt, you're in the hole.
Back on deck.
Matt on deck.
Is that home base?
Yo, time out.
You have a pick? She's usually me in this place.
Dude, my sister has a waitress named Meme right now.
Okay.
It's just so easy to turn on that face.
Yeah!
Is this Crocota?
I will. No. I think it's... Alright. I'm gonna do this song just to do it. It's gonna be shitty. Okay. I gotta restart. Close my eyes and all that I see
thought that was gonna be the sign.
I do.
So Matt is next, like right now, and then Angus, Antonio, I don't know.
Me, sort of. Everyone, Antonio. Yes, no, you need you. Okay?
We wanted someone who could actually sing.
Yeah.
No, except for Logan. I'm going to film it. I'll get the chords up. Matt, is it okay if I play this?
Wait, what was that?
Wait, where's the crystal passes? Wait,
Send it to the longest amount of...
Alright. I love you, man.
So, he wrote a song, but I wrote a rap.
Should I drop the beat?
Beat? I don't think it's that kind of rap.
It's a slam.
Yeah, I guess it's a slam poem, but it's supposed to have the tone of a rap.
Are you slipping?
Yes. I don't write beats, I write thumps, because that's the sound of junk hitting ground and all around. My friends sit silent, and sometimes look, I find a hook. They bite it, and I have no line. This shit happens all the time. I have no rhythm and little rhyme. I try to keep out, but fall behind, and keep up and fall behind, and even the spot for self-loathing is taken. How do you fit in when the outcast outshines you and nothing defines you except those behind you? My life's in fine shape, almost like a Malcolm in the Middle tape. You know where I'm going, even if you don't remember the end. We're all the same. Society is a fickle bitch, and so am I, and so it is. Praise the Lord for white skin, the blessing of being born thin, a dandy little Freemason pin, and the guarantee I'll always win. Why the hell am I ever sad? Okay, that's it.
Woo! I don't think that's rap. I think that's spoken word poetry.
Yeah.
So like Angus and
Now you know my emotions.
Us next?
Yeah.
oh yeah, I know
A doorway to your soul, man.
Yeah, probably one that like showed up snapping in the screen and like you feel it.
Nobody can hear you.
No, there's no way.
Tony.
That's my job, Mallory.
Tony, we need Tom, and we need Tom. You know the words, sing along.
Wait,
Okay. What's the song?
Well, I said you know the words, so we
know the song.
You know the song.
Am I gonna know the song?
No.
Stop.
Oh, I don't know the song.
Probably not.
Do it.
Play.
Okay. No, don't do it.
No, play.
Should I go home?
Is that Mom?
I learned a lot about falling in love when I fell out of love. I learned a lot about being a friend when I was alone. I played with fire, I burned it all down. I made more mistakes than you can count. I played with fire, I burned it all down. Sorry. Damn
Pretty gay.
Logan.
But I'm not a rapper.
Oh wait, who's going next? Whenever everyone's done.
Swaggy!
Well, this is like
Swaggy!
Okay, yeah.
I don't know which one I'm gonna do.
Is it going to be about John?
Wait, you know what about the bass?
No, the one you...
Do you
No, the one about like rape and murder!
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
That's two angry ones.
Allison's the one who thinks she's a bitch.
I already did three.
Allison, all you do is write angry poems.
What?
How much, man? How you doing, Antonio?
Just type cool in here.
What?
Just type cool.
I don't have much battery left, so. Wait, are you gonna use it to like read?
Just.
I wrote this on the, just like right now. It's at the movie theater, so I came here. It's called Nuclear.
That dick's nuclear.
Like.
Are you gonna radiate love?
That's lethal.
His dick is nuclear.
Let's go.
I pass an endless row of trees, each with one less tiny leaf, blooming and swaying in the wind. The air feels something like a nuclear explosion, beautiful oranges and yellows, a beauty only pure destruction can create. The sun makes me weary, and I walk along this path and can't help but think of you. What it would be like without you, and what it would be like if I lost you. Or maybe the reason you're thinking about me is the reason I'm thinking about you. Because sometimes I'm afraid you can read my mind. That song, can I drink this?
Yes, please. Oh, shoot. You can have it.
No.
Yeah, there's like a ton more back here. It doesn't matter.
No, you're not allowed to have one.
So this is the beginning of round 3. So, yeah, I don't know.
You do better.
I don't know.
Shut up.
This is the beginning of round 3, so everyone's going again. But, I don't know, this is going to be another angry poem because Ben told me to do it.
Good thing John didn't do it, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm reading all my John poems before he gets here.
Don't worry, he won't see the video. Yeah, he will.
He doesn't need to. He's heard this one. Alright. If I were murdered, left dead in the street, you would be the first suspect. Because it is you they will find under my nails. It is you who has gotten under my skin. It is your thought that turned into worms in my brain. But we haven't even spoken in 3 days. If I were raped, they'd go to you. But they would be so off base. Because although we once shared a bed together, you wouldn't even want to share an armrest anymore. If I were beat, black-eyed, bloody-lipped, and broken-limbed, they would go to you because you bruise me like an artist's charcoal smudges. Like you can just wipe them off later. And if it were you, you'd probably just convince them it was my fault. And I wouldn't blame them for believing. If I were robbed, you'd be the first suspect. Because you did it before. You took everything that mattered and made it yours. And then, Ben.
Wait, which band?
Ben.
It's Mallard that.
Josh is here.
Mallard, oh, yeah, Mallard.
John. I'll rap for you. You have Sonic?
Hey, shut up.
Okay, this is a really short poem. It's called April. The man who wheels the black trash cans across the cafeteria at lunchtimes is taking down the flag. He folds it with nicotine-stained fingers. tucks it under an arm, raises the naked chain up into the sky.
Maui and then Ben if I'm on set. Unless you want to switch with Ben. It's okay.
No, go. Okay. What? Yeah, I wrote this like on Thursday, so. Woo! But Rick wants like this, so I guess. Okay. You might call me a starving artist, but I have enough dirty drawings in my notebook to last me for years. It's funny, seeing those things go from paper to real life, because the shading's never really right, and you always get pencil smudges on your back where I thought my hands were supposed to go. But you never notice anything. You never listen to what I'm saying, to what my body is saying, and you rip these pages out of my book, and you think that you're not doing anything wrong, and you think that it's my fault because I was the one who drew these pictures in the first place. But what the fuck was the point in remaining chaste when you're just going to rub out the lines anyway? You're spreading me weak like watercolor. And I'm tired of dripping onto the floor whenever we're done. And yes, I wish I could stop. But you have to realize that while I'm holding this pencil, you gave me the notebook, even if you don't realize it. But please, you have to know that I'm sorry I do this to you. I'm sorry that afterward I buried my face into your shoulder, and that I buried my face into your shoulder, because I don't want to see what we've done. I'm sorry that Van Gogh skipped the shoulder and went straight to the barrel of the gun, but maybe what we don't know is that his art is like our art, and the fact that it's a cage, and we keep creating, and we keep creating, we keep destroying things, trying to make semblance and find meaning in touches and paint strokes. We're just trying to find freedom in each other's skin, and I'm sorry that sickens you. I'm sorry that we blame each other for the sake of art, but now I know we're only trying to find out what it means to have freedom.
Ben is up, and then Angela. So if you don't have them, well, it's okay. There's things I know.
Anyway, I'll figure it out.
You don't have to go this time.
Hello.
Hi.
Who do you yell until I go to the board? Yeah. Sounds good. Until I know how to poem.
God bore all when he made us, and in the very image of himself, no less. He had the confidence to literally reproduce himself on an entirely blank canvas. So in that same vein of thought, why do I struggle so much sitting in front of these pages? Creation is the modus operandi of judgment, and right now, although I have so much to say, I can't afford to lay my neck underneath that gavel. I spent years scribbling on pages, hoping something would eventually impress you, trying to play my hand at emulating such a perfect specimen. There's not a single page in my book now that doesn't have your name somewhere on it, and now my very being is a manifestation of you. And it kills me because I can't look in the mirror anymore without seeing it, and looking in the mirror is hard enough as it is these days. I was told I would never be matched. And that was something I had so much confidence in. At times, it was literally the only thing I knew, but then you came in and set me on fire. Like a phoenix in regression, I was killed in the ashes of teenage angst and your lack of confidence. But I had so much confidence in you that when you walked away, the damage had already been done, and I couldn't afford to be reborn again. And so that's why I'm here today. I wrote your name on your gifts so that there was not a shadow of a doubt that they were for you, and you still turned your head and walked. This hiatus has given me time to think. I don't miss you, and I certainly don't miss the idea of you. I'm fine on my own. It is the challenge I miss, the challenge of memorizing all the lines in your endless song. You had "This is not for you" written on your front cover, and you were just as cryptic. I'm sorry that you couldn't stand to be with me in public, because my wall was a lot shorter than most people my age. In those days, I wasn't afraid to be judged and to just simply bear my nature to nature, but you showed me that if it's not going to be perfect, why even bother? I knew at that time that all greatness had to start somewhere, so why was I so hung up on your lack thereof? I don't want to say it was from intimidation, but you tore me down to your level like a revolutionary in Berlin, and just like that, I fell for you.